Hello. Welcome to another Joyful Gym with Audrey Joy. One of my favorite pastimes as a kid was riding my bike on the gravel road. It was a quarter mile long. That was our driveway. And once home from school, I'd get the chores done and then I'd grab that bike and rode as hard as I could before the sun faded away. The driveway was horseshoe shaped around a large farm field that sometimes had alfalfa, it sometimes had corn. You know, crop rotation is important for the soil. And our house set up on a mesa so that as I was going down the road, I could look down the hill, we called it, to see the Cheyenne River below. It was on the north side of our property. In the spring, the river would be high from snow melt, and sometimes, if you listen really carefully, you could hear the roar of the water even up on the mesa. No fancy 10 speeds on our farm. The tires on those wouldn't hold up. Not on a gravel road and not with what we called sandburrs. We called them that. You might call them stickers. But either way, they hurt if they got into your skin. And the bike tires on a 10 speed were just not going to hold up against them. The only way our bikes were going to go any faster had everything to do with the pedaling power of the rider. And of course, brakes were applied by pushing the pedals backwards. Well, one summer, we were visiting my mother's sister, different sister that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks. It's the younger sister. She and her husband lived in Georgia with their two boys, so my cousins. And I'm guessing I was preteen or maybe early teens when this visit happened. And then add to this scene the fact that my aunt lived at the top of a very large hill. And there were beautiful homes along the road that led up to their house at the top of the hill. Down the hill at the bottom was a very busy 4-lane highway. And then just below their house there was a beautiful meadow, and it was blanketed or edged by a thicket of trees. Basically a forest. I mean, it is the South. So now you have the scene, right? Well, one of the boys had a brand new 10-speed bike, and I was so excited when he offered to let me ride it. It was such a smooth ride and so much lighter than the bike I was used to at home. And I was going down that beautiful road, down the hill, and picking up speed. When I pedaled backwards to slow down, I was astonished to find the brakes didn't work on this brand new bike. I mean, the pedals just spun all the way around. I steered the bike off the road and into the meadow. And I was going faster and faster, and no matter how hard I tried, those brakes just would not work on that bike. My cousin was running behind me as fast as he could, and he kept yelling, "Squeeze the handlebars." And I remember thinking, well, duh. It's not like I'm going to let go of them. It's what's keeping me upright. Well, at this point in the adventure, I realized I have a choice to make. I either am going to go down this hill and head right into oncoming traffic, or I'm going to take my chances with a tree. Well, I chose the tree. And when I turned the bike hard enough to head towards the forest, I laid the bike down. I wrecked. And I was going pretty darn fast when I went down. Well, wasn't long before both my cousin and my younger brother had reached me. You know, I was scraped and I was bruised, but not really hurt. And then my cousin said, "The brakes are on the handlebars." You know, that would have been a nice fact to know before I got on the thing. He gave me a demonstration. I did give it a go, and I finally got the hang of it. I was, however, quite glad to get back to my 1-speed bike back at the farm when the trip was over. You know, my cousin assumed that I knew how to ride a 10-speed, and I assumed a 10-speed worked the same way as any other bike. Assumptions are dangerous. You know, we were just kids. We didn't know any better. But how many times do we as adults make assumptions? And we assume we know whatever, you know, fill in the blank. And then we end up making a mess somehow. We can make a mess of a situation, a relationship, a friendship. I know that's a lesson God is teaching me. I hope it's a lesson you've already learned. But if you're like me and still learning that lesson, let this be your reminder. Never assume you know. Ask questions. You'll be glad you did. If you found value in this gem, share it with a friend and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joyful Gems with Audrey Joy, or follow me on my Facebook page. This is for me. If you're not already a Joyful Gem subscriber, you can change that. You can log into my website and subscribe there, thisisforme.com, or just shoot me an email, audreyjoy@thisisforme.com. Be joyful.